Thank you. I didn't know. So she kind of dated us. You know, we had second graders that have graduated college, but I had kids when I was 4, okay? So, thank you for coming. This is a much bigger crowd than I expected, which is always a good thing. So my name is April Kelly, and just a quick, fun, tale about where I've been and how I landed here today. How many of you have lived in Omaha? And I do have to warn you, this is participatory. So if you're sitting really close to your neighbor, be careful, knocking out sodas and stuff, so you might want to have a little extra room. How many of you were here in the year 2000 in Omaha? That was 15 years ago. Great. So there was a startup that came to Omaha that ran full-page ads in the Omaha World-Herald, and the company was called X.com. Does anyone remember seeing those ads? It was a huge stir in the community. Okay, that's all right. I'm going to get to the good stuff. So X.com came to Omaha. They were interviewing down at what was the Holiday Inn Central on 72nd and Grover. They were a startup company from Silicon Valley. They were offering great wages and stock options, and they were interviewing in hotel rooms. So I went to interview with them because they were an online payments piece, and I was like, I had a website, it crashed before Christmas. This must be a sign. God wants me to do something online where I'm not responsible for the website. So I went to interview with this company, and I was their first management hire. And the company you know now is PayPal, but I was their first management hire, and I got to hire the first 700 to 800 people that worked at PayPal. And we opened our office down at John Galt in the old Z92 building. Does everybody remember that? Okay. So imagine this is the call. My parents live in Colorado. That's where I was born. I'm not a Buffalo fan, though, so I can stay. But this is the call my folks got. Hey, I was so excited. I just interviewed with this company called X.com, and they're going to give me stock options and a great salary. They can't tell me where the office is because it's under construction, and I start on Monday. My parents, long, awkward silence, and I'm like, hello? Like, did you hear what I said? They thought I was working for an adult website. So 3 months went by, and X.com decided that it had this little product called PayPal. And X.com was a line of credit. We were going to be a bank. We were going to get into the credit business and do lines of credit up to $1,000. Elon Musk thought that that was a good idea. PayPal was doing this on eBay. X.com was doing this, and we decided this is a pain in the rear. This is not much fun, but this is a lot of fun. So we became PayPal in July of 2000. Made a lot of mistakes in hiring that many people in a very short amount of time. Basically, I had 33 people coming out every 2.5 days, and it was basically moving plastic sheets to make room for new people. We opened phones in May of the same year, and we thought we'll open on Memorial Day weekend. No one will be in front of their computer. Turned on phones for our call center. We went into queue 38 seconds later. So I learned a lot in a very short amount of time. One of the founders, along with Elon, Peter Thiel, hailed from PayPal, but so did a gentleman called Reid Hoffman. How many of you have heard of Mr. Hoffman? Great. So Reid started this company called LinkedIn. And in 2004, I got an invitation from him to connect on this platform that was described to me as an online Rolodex. And I have to be honest, I was at PayPal. PayPal was doing great. He sent me this invitation, and I thought, this is like the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But I trusted him, and lo and behold, he was right. You know, there's a lot we could do with this. So in 2006, he approached me and said, hey, I need a call center. You want to do it all over again in Omaha? It took me about a nanosecond to say yes. So I had the opportunity of opening the LinkedIn call center in 2006. I stayed there till 2011. Got put on a special assignment and worked myself out of a job, and I'm not going to bore you with those details. But it was a great ride, and I had the opportunity to take a step back and do something different after 2 really great startups. So I've been busier since then. I have published 2 books. I've done some public speaking, and I'm advising a whole bunch of startups. So it's been a really fun and wonderful ride. And all along the way, the one thing I have learned, well, 2 things, and the one you probably heard before, never, ever, ever, ever burn a bridge you might have to go back across. And you may think you may never have to, trust me, you will always have to go back across, especially if you burn that bridge. But the other most important thing is the brand and cultivating who you want to be and what you want people to know about you. And we're responsible for that. Companies have been doing this for years. They spend millions and millions of dollars on advertising. I mean, the Super Bowl is a great example of that. You know, if I say tastes great, you say less filling. And that's an advertisement for beer. You know, nothing like the real thing is, you know, that was the mantra for Coca-Cola for a long time. So they've been branding forever. They know it works and it sticks and people remember them. Well, we as individuals are really supposed to do the same thing. Like if Ann is in a group and, you know, if someone says April Kelly, I would rather them not say, oh, yeah, you know, doesn't pay her water bill and her kids dress dirty and, you know. I'd like them to say, wow, yeah, you know, she's well connected and she really helped me out. That's a great brand. That's the kind of thing you want to resonate through your personal brand. So we're going to talk a lot about branding. Some of it you may have heard. Some of it may be new. I love questions. I know everybody usually says wait till the end. Don't wait because you'll forget if you're anything like me. Ask away. You know, we can pause and I'll be sure to answer. Before I get started, a couple of you asked me what kind of dog that was in the picture. Does anyone that I did not tell have a guess for me? Not a poodle. What did you say? No, you're close. Miniature? Miniature, not a miniature golden. I want somebody to guess this because I have prizes for right answers. I have books. Close but smaller breed. You've got, yeah, there you go. Just hand that book back. So that's a cockapoo. I will tell you, this is terrible, but it's the truth, and that's all you're going to get from me today. I used to have a different headshot on my LinkedIn profile. Statistically, if you have a headshot and you have your pet in the headshot, you will get 20% more viewers of your profile. That's not exactly why I did it, but it hasn't hurt. So just so you know, I'm not saying to go out and buy a dog or buy a cat, but it doesn't hurt. Okay, so personal branding. What is personal branding? This is what we're going to cover today, and I'm going to have to talk fast so I don't carry over. We're going to talk about what is personal brand, because it means different things to different people. I'm going to give you my take on that. Then we're going to talk about social networks, because they've been the game changer. They are the key that will help you to develop your personal brand. Then we'll talk a little bit about current events and how that has impacted personal branding. I think you might get a little laugh out of that. Talk a little bit more about social media. And then the big area that you're going to want to really pay attention to are the 6 LinkedIn keys that I'm going to give you at the end. These are things that you can do today. And there are other platforms we're going to talk about as well, but LinkedIn is the one obviously I know probably most intimately. So without further ado, what is your personal brand? Well, your personal brand is all about who you are and what you want to be known for. So here are some questions that I tell people to ask themselves and to really be honest with yourself. And you may not have answers to all of these. Like when you're in a crowded room, how do you make people feel? Are you approachable? Are you cold? Are you unsure? You know, and it doesn't matter if you're an introvert, extrovert. We all have our mannerisms that make us who we are. So think about how do you make people feel? And then how do people benefit from working with you? Do they benefit? Are you an energy drain, or are you that radiant, everybody wants to be around you? You come into the room and people are just like, whoa. You have to be careful. What words would others use to describe you? And what words would you use to describe others? Very important. What field and industry are you currently in? And which one do you want to be in? This is kind of important for you guys to track. Any idea how frequent you will probably change your careers in the lifespan of your careers? You're probably going to change jobs every 18 to 36 months. 10 years ago, it was every 3 to 5 years. But people are changing much more frequently because it's a much more competitive landscape and skill sets are much more refined. 20 years ago, You could be what I would call more of a generalist, and you could say, I'm in business development. That could be like 5 million things. Today, they may need somebody who does market research specifically on the seller side. Skills are getting much more refined. That's just one example. It's not an IT example, so it's probably not a very good one for you guys, but I think you know what I'm saying. So you're probably going to change quite a few times. You also might decide to pivot and do something different. When I left LinkedIn in 2011, I started painting. It was therapy for me. I just needed to be creative. I bought some clay boards and some acrylics, and I started painting. And before I knew it, my whole basement, I paint big flowers, big colorful flowers, and that's just where I wound up. People started coming over. They'd go in my basement, and, oh, I like that one. Good, take it. Get it out of here so I've got room for more. You may wind up pivoting, doing something new. I never thought I'd write a book. So I've written 2, probably a 3rd one on the way, but you never know. So what area do you want to be in? Because having your personal brand right, it will enable you to do that. Who is your target audience? So who are you trying to reach through your branding? Who do you want to appeal to? If they're doing a search on LinkedIn, do you have the right kind of keywords in your summary? And last but not least, what do I do that makes me stand out from everyone else? You've all got something that makes you completely unique and different, and it's important that you really build that up, because it's great. That's what makes you you. When you're thinking about social networks and what you're going to use, because there's a plethora of them. Let me do a real quick show of hands. How many of you are on LinkedIn? Okay. How many of you are on Facebook? Okay. How many of you have parents that are on Facebook? And you know that's why they're there, because they want to keep an eye on you. Snapchat? Instagram? Twitter? Okay. How many of you are on LinkedIn and have checked on it in the last 24 hours? Oh, fuck, I'm done. I'm leaving now. That's great. I would ask that question 2 years ago, and they'd be like, yeah, I signed up and I haven't seen it since. That's awesome. I love hearing that. So when you're looking at all of these different platforms that you might use, you want to make sure a couple of things that are differentiators. Will they allow you to build your identity? Do you have complete control over the content of your site? LinkedIn, Facebook. Do you have control over the privacy settings? Have they had a breach? Those things are really important because they breed trust and reputation. Most of them, LinkedIn, Facebook, little iffy. You have to be careful and pay attention to, does someone get into their data? Use the networks that are safe, that are trusted, that are reliable, that are under a lot of scrutiny, because then you know whatever you put on there is going to be guarded, and that's important. Friends versus colleagues. So we'll talk about the difference between the platforms. Yes, sometimes they do cross, and I know some people say, well, we spend our whole life at work. Of course, people we work with are friends. True, but there are a couple boundaries there. If you cross them, it does happen. You have to be careful, and that's all I'll say about that for now, but we'll come back around to that. And then, are you developing a new or existing relationship? And last but not least, what is the purpose? Why do you use Facebook? Why do you use LinkedIn? Why do you use Snapchat? Are you keeping things separate, or are they all starting to do this? So, top uses for social networking sites. I won't spend a lot of time on this. If they're social, you're probably talking about music, movies, playing games. I've never played Candy Crush, but I know it's huge. But they're usually for entertainment, recreation, and encourage discussion that you might not have at work. We used to call this the after 5 network. What do you talk about at happy hour is not usually what you would talk about at work. And then the professional setting, you're going to talk about research that you're doing, maybe a big job that you have just completed, a designation that you've completed, you've graduated, certification. Those are all professional. So it's work, research, problem solving. Those are the big differences in your social media platforms. All of these can help your brand. Oh boy, I didn't realize. Can you guys read that? So personal branding is powerful. And we've had some current events as of late that have really shown how powerful your brand is. Has anyone heard the term hero to zero? No? Yes? I'm showing my age. It's okay. That means you can go from being hero to zero in pretty rapid fire. Unfortunately, Mr. Williams had an impeccable reputation. He had a great brand. He was our guy at the 5 and 6 o'clock news. He had risen from being on the front lines at different areas and local networks to being the national news guy at 5 o'clock. What happened? His integrity got shot down. His brand has gone way south, and he'll probably be lucky to ever have a job in this medium again. His integrity really killed him. So when you're thinking about your brand, what do you stand for? Unfortunately, Mr. Williams made a mistake, and it's going to follow him probably for the rest of his life. Social media has created this information boon, if you will. When I was younger, and we've established that I'm probably a little older than most of you in here, I could make a mistake when I was a kid, and as I got more mature, people forgot about that mistake. If it was not a real bad one, that is, let me qualify it. Today, if you make a mistake, that mistake's probably going to beat you to the internet, and there are probably going to be millions of people reading about it before you have a chance to talk to anybody or do anything about it. So we have to be really cognizant when we're building our brand. Same thing holds true. It can really plummet quickly. So on the opposite side of that, I want to tell you about somebody else who's got an awesome brand. Her name is Jordana Schrager. She hails from the University of Michigan. She was a sophomore in college when this picture was taken, and she started building her brand rather early. She's got a nice LinkedIn profile. She's had an internship and some nice experience, but she's known for sneakers. She does a custom Converse sneaker. She accidentally did it at the University of Michigan for a ball game. People loved it. They wanted to know where they could find these shoes. She started doing them herself by hand and has built a whole business out of it. The one thing I want you to notice, this is a Google feed, and you'll notice there are 5 entries. LinkedIn, if you have a profile, has promised to always show above the fold with Google. They work together, and if you've got a LinkedIn profile and other articles like Jordana's got, it will always show up in your top 5. She's had some recent articles, that's why hers is on the bottom, but she's done a fabulous job of branding. Here she was covered this month as being this great startup, and it was in the Detroit paper, and they could definitely use some good news. So I share this with you as an example of no matter where you're at, whether it be in college, post-college, closer to my age, it's never too late to work on your brand, reinvent your brand, and to really think about, does it represent who I am or who I want to be and take me where I want to go? So how can you use social media to your brand advantage? It starts with the profile, and this is an example on LinkedIn. And you'll notice, first of all, number of recommendations that I have is 56, and then I have my connections are over 500. Not a bragging point. It just tells you I've got a reputation. I've probably been on the site for a while, versus if I had no recommendations and 5 connections, that in of itself would probably tell you something a little bit different about my reputation. Content. I like color. Can you guys tell? I just got balloons all over the place. LinkedIn's got a tool that allows you to publish, and they call it the Pulse. It's kind of like stream of consciousness for me. And for all of you in this room, think about what you like to write about or what you know about, and what could you write 2 or 3 paragraphs about to start establishing your subject matter expert. Those are the kind of things I've put in to my Pulse. I talk about customer service, I talk about business practices, I talk about gratitude, branding, and I'm creating a good line of followers by doing that. And then my summary, I use bullet points and keywords that I want to be found with. If you have a long paragraph or 2, people won't read it. Do short, hard-hitting bullets that describe who you are or who you want to be to help build your brand. And we're going to come back around to some of this. I also wanted to share this with you. A senior HR person at Logitech told us that they are doing 25% of their hiring off of LinkedIn, and that number is climbing. They just started using the tool internationally, and their hiring will probably get closer to 50 to 60%. So they're really relying on the LinkedIn platform to find their talent. They're not alone. A lot more companies are looking for these profiles. So here's another example of how you can leverage LinkedIn. I worked with Dave McClure at PayPal, and at that time he was one of our database developers. This was about 15 years ago, and David and I are first level connections. So I connected with him because I knew him and I trusted him, and I want to emphasize that. You will all get invitations from people that you don't know, and I would encourage you not to connect with people that you don't know, and I'll tell you why. And this happens all the time. If you connect with someone that you haven't worked with or you don't know them firsthand, someone from an HR department is going to contact you and say, hey, I see that you're connected to Dave McClure. Can you tell me a little bit about his work? And if your response is, well, I just really connected with him, I don't really know him, the integrity of your connections, your integrity, everything goes south really quick. But if it's somebody that you know and you respect and you're able to give them a positive recommendation, that boosts your standing, if you will, on LinkedIn. So I know it's tough to not want to have big numbers just because you can, but if you have a choice, I would say don't connect. And you can decline without them knowing it. You can just archive it, and that's the end of the story. I also get a lot of international connections, which, like, yeah. I can count on two hands of everybody that I don't, know internationally that I'm not already connected with. So be careful. So David and I know David, trust him, I connect with him. So I tracked what he's doing with his career. I would encourage you guys to do the same thing. And lo and behold, he's the founding partner at 500 Startups. Really cool business in Silicon Valley. They're looking for startups. They started with microloans. They've really graduated into a big entity. Haven't talked to him for probably 7 years, but last week I had to send him an email. I'm working with a startup that could really use his expertise and maybe some money. So I reached out to David, and sure enough, within 6 hours, he replied and said, great, I can talk to you at this time. Let's get the ball rolling. So we had a conversation. He was very, very helpful. But I got an, oh, by the way, I noticed you're connected to a guy down in San Diego that I would like to meet. He was a venture capitalist. I said, sure, I would love to help you out. So I connected him. So what kind of brand am I building by doing that kind of activity? First of all, Dave was a rock star in getting back to me in 6 hours and helping me out. So he's paying it forward. There's nothing in it for him to help me. But in return, I was able to do the same for him. So all of a sudden, passively, I'm being looked at as, hey, April's also a connector. She's good at communicating. She's happy to make the connection. Back away and let the two of them do business. These are good ways to help you build your brand. Questions? You guys all follow that? We're good? You guys have that, I got too many carbs for lunch and no napping, okay? Exceptions to the rules, social versus professional. This is my Facebook page. I want to make sure you guys know. Facebook and my book. If you're an author or you're an artist, you are in the public eye, whether you're a radio personality, TV personality, Facebook does a great job at playing to those types of different occupations. I will tell you more companies are also getting on Facebook, but in a very professional manner, because the demographic on Facebook is different than it is on LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn, your average age is going to be about 41. Demographic is you make about $78,000, 52% male, 48% female. Those aren't bad demographics, but it doesn't cover the entire universe, right? Facebook, on the other hand, has got a much younger audience. So they want to appeal to a little big broader scope, sorry. They'll be on Facebook, but they keep it professional. They're not going to be talking about, hey, we've got happy hour after work. It's all about, This is LinkedIn. This is the experience, and these are people that work for us. With my book, when I did my tour and I went out and I did signings, I used Facebook, and it was awesome. People tracked me and talked about, oh, we met April, she signed the book, and I learned X, Y, Z. So there are definitely some times when Facebook is a good platform for business. Also, if you're in personal services, for all of you that see nail tech, hair stylists, barbers, they probably have a Facebook account, and they probably feature some of you on their account to show what great works they do. It's a great place for that kind of individual as well. It's social, and being an author, being in the beauty business, that's very social. Think about what's the first thing you start doing when you sit in that chair? Talk, 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 talk. I have a girlfriend that's a beautician. She's threatening to write a book, and I'm blackmailing her not to because she knows too many secrets. So, okay, so enough about generalities. Let's talk about me incorporated, meaning all of you. You're going to be Googled, and how many of you have Googled yourself in the last month? Okay, anybody surprised at their content? Okay, have you ever Googled your phone number, your cell phone number? Has anyone ever been surprised where their phone number's at? I unfortunately have had the same number since I was at PayPal, and my number is on several customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction boards from a long time ago, and I've had those removed. I would recommend Google your name, Google your phone number, and your address at least once a month to make sure that there's nothing out there that shouldn't be. How can you control the content? Your first line of defense is to make sure you've got a LinkedIn profile. So this is what, if you don't have, anyone not have LinkedIn profile in this room? Wow, that's awesome. I never thought I would get to that point. So this is what it looks like if you don't have a profile. This is what the sign-up page looks like. Let's talk about the 6 keys to personal branding on LinkedIn. First and foremost, if you have not done so, please make sure you're completing the whole thing. On my profile, you'll see I've got my current places that I'm working, previous employers, education, recommendation, and then there's an area for websites. I see a lot of incomplete profiles. There are places where you can tout your own websites or your blogs, and people aren't doing it. Again, if you want to write, like I have this published by April, I would encourage you, you don't lose anything by publishing your thoughts, unless they're illegal, which I'm sure is no problem with this group, but get published. You'll start having people follow you. I've been publishing for about 8 weeks, and I've got over 1,300 people following what I write. That's a great audience. So if I want to pivot and do something, who knows, there may be somebody in there that needs my expertise. And then your summary. Again, use bullet points. You guys all have experiences doing lots of different things. Even if you're a student, be short, precise, and to the point, and make sure you're writing about the areas that you want employers to look at so that when you're looking for a job, they're finding you. Participate in college and alumni groups. All of you should participate in the UNO groups. There's one, this is a shot of the IT alumni group. This one you join, they verify that you are part of the college, and then they let you in. I know several students in here that have tracked each other's success and have actually helped each other out. Again, building brand, helping each other, paying it forward. You can definitely do this today. Join relevant industry groups. There are over 100,000 groups on LinkedIn. Type in any kind of group you're interested in. It's on LinkedIn. You can start following the group, joining in on conversations, and establishing yourself as a subject matter expert by answers. Sometimes it's by thought-provoking questions that you ask, waiting for an answer. These are ways, again, you're building credibility, you're a thought leader, and you're building your brand. Make sense? Broadcast your knowledge through updates. I don't just worry about what I'm writing. I also highlight if I read an article that I find interesting. I will post that in a status update. Other people will comment on that, they'll like it, or they'll say, wow, what are you thinking? It's all good stuff, but again, it shows that I'm engaged, I'm watching current events, and it's building my brand. This is probably the funnest part. Follow companies that you want to work for. Disney, IBM, Microsoft, HP, Google, Facebook, they have tons of followers. But if you want to get in on the inside scoop, are they hiring? Is something going on? Are they making a change? Are people moving around? Follow them on LinkedIn. You'll get updates every time that there's a change. If they post a job, it goes out to people that are following that company. Great source, and if you're looking for a job, I certainly would highly encourage you to use this tool. And then last but not least, use the apps that are on LinkedIn. I'm guessing everybody in here has got presentations, has done research work, maybe a capstone project. You can put all of those on your LinkedIn profile and share those with other people to see. They will build your brand, they'll show your work, which will do nothing but prompt other questions. Wow, this person did this body of research. I wonder if they would be a fit for this role. It will help, again, further your brand and really showcase what you know and what you have done. It includes video, PowerPoint presentations, pictures, just about anything you can think of. They've got an area where you can put that on your LinkedIn profile. So in our information-centric world, it used to be, it was all about what you knew. Well, it's not only that, and it's not only who you know, but it's who and what they know. That's what social media evolved from. Who's heard of 6 degrees of separation? That's how LinkedIn came to pass. The idea was everybody was just 6 steps from meeting somebody else anywhere in the world. That 6 has gone to 2 or 3. And it's really about getting on LinkedIn platform, establishing your brand, making sure you're connecting with people, but then looking at who do they know that can help you to further your endeavors. It could be career, it could be a volunteer area, it could be fundraising. It goes well beyond just, looking for your next opportunity. I've used it in a lot of different ways. When I was writing my Gratitude at Work book, I hit a real wall when I was done with the book. Believe it or not, I couldn't title the darn thing. Nothing worse than having a book and you're like, I have no title, hello. And I sent a couple of emails out to other writers who I thought would not be terribly offended if I asked for help. They were super helpful. People love to give you help if you can be really precise in your ask. And I just said, here's my book, sent them 2 chapters. I said, I can't come up with a name. And the first couple, they were ridiculous. But the next few, Gratitude at Work came through. I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because the book was about how to use gratitude as a leadership tool. Whoever would have thought of that, right? Well, I did, wrote about it, and that was the name of my book. So a couple things, rules to just keep in mind. Most of these are, if you think about them, well, yeah, that makes sense. But I like to say them to give you something more to think about. Don't change your rules just because tech has changed. And let me tell you what I mean by that. Tomorrow or the next day, another Snapchat, another Instagram, there's going to be another great widget that's going to come out. Maybe today you decided, okay, I'm just going to use Facebook for this, I'm going to use LinkedIn for this, Instagram, whatever the tools are. You can't do all of them, but focus on the ones that you're going to really master and really do a great job on. And when that tool comes out tomorrow or the next day, don't jump on board right away. I say stay the course, wait till that other tool shakes out. Make sure it's going to be around in 6, 8, 10 weeks. Once it's gotten a little bit more mature, if it's still appealing, add it to what you're doing, but don't just jump because it's a new shiny thing. I see a lot of people do that. They'll do Facebook for a couple weeks and then they forget about, oh, let's go do LinkedIn. Oh, here's Instagram. Here's that. Stay in your lanes and know what you want to achieve in both of them when it comes to branding. Facebook, I talk a little bit about very safe subjects on my personal life. I'm going to tell you, if employers see you doing keg stands and talking about how much fun that was to watch beer come out of your nose, they're not going to be happy. They won't tell you that they're doing that, but I guarantee you, they're scanning it. They're picking it up in Google. I have kids that are in that 20-something bracket, and the conversations we have had, you have to take this down, or you cannot, use the F word like the word the. It doesn't play well, And I know it's maybe a generational thing. Employers, look at that. So stay in your lane, stay with the tools that you're going to use, keep them, it's going to be personal, professional. How many of you have a neighbor, girlfriend, friend, family member, they only call when they need something? Don't we all have, oh, it's her again, do I answer this or do I let it go? Nobody, just me? Oh, well, you guys need books. Don't only call when you need something, because they will start monitoring your phone calls. Okay, who else had the fun family members? I had these two over here. Okay, these two ladies back there. And then don't make it burdensome for someone to help you. If I had said, hey, I've got this new book and I need a title. Okay, the person on the other end's going, okay, give us more information. Be precise in your ask. Hi, my name is April Kelly. I really want to meet Ann at UNO, and she's in this department. Can you help me make that happen? Sure, would be happy to help. Very specific. Don't make it hard for someone to help you out. People love to help if it's not going to be a huge chore. Help when there's nothing in it for you. When was the last time you paid it forward? Anybody in here? Didn't it feel great? It's when you do stuff and there's nothing in it for you, I am a firm believer this universe is going to come right back around when you least expect it and be a blessing to you. So strongly encourage you to look for places when you can help and there's nothing in it for you, do it. Consider your network as defining part of your reputation. You know the old adage, people will identify you with the people you hang out with. Anybody heard that one, or is that one of those old ones? It's okay. So if you have a bunch of connections on LinkedIn, and maybe they've been linked to some unsavory activities, you have to look at, okay, maybe I could be connected to them on a different platform like Instagram or Snapchat, but do I really want them in my professional dossier? Do I want people to know that, we are connected at this level? Are you connected at that level? So be caution, not saying it wouldn't work, but know who you are connected to. I have disconnected with friends of mine because of new connections that they've got, just because I've got an integrity issue, or I know that they're doing something business ethically that I don't agree with. So I'll disconnect. That's just me. And you can do that without broadcasting it and making waves. Consider time as a scarce resource. How many of you have so much time in the day you just don't know what to do with yourself? Yeah, none of us, right? We're at information overload. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm finding people don't answer their phone anymore. They don't answer emails. And text, maybe. It's tough. Everybody's just this, and maybe a little bit of this, and the email thing, they may be talking and doing the dictation. Suri, I'm sorry. We need somebody else. She always gets it wrong, and she gets me into trouble a lot. Anybody else in that camp? Yeah. I said something the other week, and it was to a friend at church, and it came out devil. I'm like, oh, no. Like, sorry. I had to call the girl. I'm like, that was Suri, and I didn't read it. I'm so sorry. So anyway, all these are just things, rules of the road, if you will, when it comes to branding. So in summary, branding, social networks are your key. You didn't have these 20 years ago. They're really a good vehicle. And you can brand yourself as whatever you want to be. If I took down everything that I've done on the internet and I really wanted to be this self-professed artist, I could, if you liked flowers anyway. And it's awesome. I mean, there is no end to what you can do. The possibilities are there, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do and how you want to create this. Manage your professional relationships. You can't, it's not a one-hit wonder. You update LinkedIn today, you leave it alone and you don't check. What happens if you get a bunch of in-mails, people needing help or asking questions, they don't hear from you for 2 weeks? That hurts your brand, big time. So be sure and check on it. And then realize what kind of value you're getting from your professional network. The connection I told you about with Dave McClure, with the 500 startups, the data he gave me, if I had to go to a consultant and ask them, I would have easily paid at least $500 for. So that was huge for me. So there is great value in that. So, did I leave us enough time for Q&A? Okay. Questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Did you have to write 56 recommendations to receive 56 recommendations?
Great question. The question is, did I have to write 56 recommendations to get 56 recommendations? Absolutely not. And actually, if it was ever a one-for-one, I wouldn't do it. What I would do is if I had an experience that was really good, I would ask for the recommendation. And if I ever got it like on the condition of doing the return, I would say, you know what, I'm sorry, I made an error. Just happy for the experience, wish you well, and that was it. So no, that to me is like a hollow, yeah, good. That's a great question. Yeah. Yes. Yes, good experiences. And they have, I mean, I've had a couple of experiences that have been really not great. And I've gone to those same people, not asking for a recommendation, but just said, you know, it really felt clunky, or this didn't go well, I'd like some feedback. And that doesn't show up. But yeah, if it was a good experience, I want people to write about it. 2 reasons. A, I want people to know that I do good works. B, it gives me a track record to remember, because I will forget what those experiences were. And you know, you try to recall, it's like, I know it was good, I just can't remember why. Those do help. Yes?
I have a question about your photo that you have on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn seems to me is becoming more of your resume. Mm-hmm. The old-fashioned resume has been in the past, but we still send those, and we still create those and provide those. What do you think about putting the picture on the actual resume, the resume that we would send in?
So like the paper?
I've seen some, I've seen not, and I'm not sure how that really goes over with the
So great question. The question was, should you put your picture on a resume? Before I answer, I want to take a vote. Okay, how many of you think it's a good idea to put it on? And there's not a wrong answer here, so just really be honest. How many think it's a good idea to put it on? How many think it's not a good idea to put it on? I'm surprised. Okay, so this is what I would ask you. You're the hiring manager, and you're sitting in Google offices, and you have got 10,000 resumes. These have photos. These don't have photos. God bless you. Which ones do you think are more apt to go into the trash? It does depend on the kind of picture. I think there's nothing wrong with putting pictures on. I honestly don't send too many paper resumes out, but it is reading more and more like a resume. It used to be business cards. You know, who puts your picture on a business card? I think everybody's putting their picture on business cards now. And I tell you, if it's a picture with you and your pet, it definitely doesn't make the trash. I may not make it. They may cut around and just keep the dog, but that's okay. So I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other. I don't think it hurts you unless you are applying to, if I was applying to like IBM, which I know is a really traditional, go by the book, they're still doing the blue suits, white shirts, red tie, and I don't know if that's true, but to me they're a real traditional employer. I probably would not do a picture. Google, Facebook, the more off the wall you can be, I think the better. Something to really make yourself stand out. That's legal. I should always use that caveat. Yes, sir? Great question. And that's why I talked a little bit. So his question was, how much time do I spend working on brand stuff? Which I'm surprised that wasn't the first question, because everybody's like, yeah, this sounds great. I have that much time in my schedule. That's why I was talking about pick a lane. I use 2.5 tools. You like the way I did that? I use LinkedIn and I use Facebook. Anything that I put on LinkedIn and that I update in my status automatically goes to my Twitter feed. because LinkedIn has got that connection. So when I say 2.5, there's my half. So I have Twitter, LinkedIn is all my professional stuff, and then Facebook for my social stuff and stalking my kids. I have to be honest. But they're on to me, so I had to get onto Instagram, and I don't like Instagram. To your point, I spend exactly 15 minutes in the morning and about the same at night. And I make myself stop, because I could spend easily a couple of hours. I also do it for a couple of companies, and that's about the same amount of time that I allocate. I figure if I can't get it done in 15 minutes, I'm doing too much and I need to reevaluate. Is this the right platform for it? Yes? Great question. What's the difference between premium and non-premium on LinkedIn? So I am a premium lifetime member because I'm an alumni. I won the lottery there. Premium gets you more in-mails on LinkedIn, which is their email system. Meaning, if I don't know Sandy, well, that was loud. Thank you. And I want to send her an in-mail as an introduction first, I get more of those as a premium member. I also get to see more information about who's viewed my profile. Does anybody ever look at that on LinkedIn? Yeah. It's a vanity thing. It just drives us crazy. Who's looked at my profile? You know, how many views have I gotten? So you get a few more bells and whistles. When I worked for LinkedIn, my motto was always, use the free service, maximize that. If you run out of in-mails or there's something you don't have access to that you just have to have, then upgrade, but 99% of their audience is free. They really rely on their recruiting tool, carries the company for the most part. They've got a phenomenal tool that helps companies of all sizes. Yes, ma'am.
So when people are building their plans, sometimes there's gray area to, I want to be, I want to appear confident and able, but I don't want to come off as arrogant.
Sure. So the difference, I'm going to paraphrase the question. People want to appear confident but not arrogant. First of all, if you're making claims about something you're able to do, if you're able to back it up with a resource or a fact or a piece of work, by all means, please do it. Like, the more the better. If it's something a little less tangible, like say I'm making the claim that I increased customer satisfaction by 1,200% at LinkedIn during my tenure. Okay, that sounds great. How in the world am I going to measure that? That might be a time when I go to ask for a third-party recommendation and let them help me bang my drum, so to speak. But I think facts will help you stay out of that arrogance category, and recommendations, letting people do the talking for you. I think that's where a lot of the strength is. And if you're absolutely not sure, put it on your profile, ask somebody you trust, who's that pessimist. Everybody's got one in their life who, you know, oh, yeah, you can't do that. Are you crazy? Have them read your profile, because they'll tell you if they're like, woof, you are not all of this in a bag of rocks. You know, a little feedback is helpful. And we're all guilty of it from time to time, but especially, no offense to any of the male in the room, women, we aren't good at this. The guys, man, they're out on the golf course, and man, oh man, they're having record sales here, and nothing can stop them, but we are much more passive about, yeah, I'm a rock star. I closed X amount in sales, and I graduated top of my class, and I can do this and that. Do not be afraid to say, yeah, I can do this, and I'm really good at this, because we're just not as good as banging our own drum. And we should also support one another. You know, if you see you're connected to myself and I get a promotion, woo, send me a note, woohoo, yay! We don't do that. We're like, oh, yeah, whatever, you know. I bet she probably had to do something extra for that, you know. I didn't say it. You guys all thought it. I didn't say it. But really, we need to be more supportive of each other, because talk about each other's cheerleaders. The guys have got it down. It's a different, you know, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It is so true. I see women be so catty with one another, and the guys, let's go out and have a beer, or whatever. If we did more of that and more of the building each other up and being truly happy for one another, sorry, I'm on my soapbox for a minute. It would be awesome. I've got a 22-year-old daughter who's in her first job, and I hear some of these stories, and I'm like, I don't want to hear this. You need to celebrate for everybody, because she's just, she's at that entry level, and everybody's better than her. Yep, that's how it works. You start at the bottom and you work your way up, and that's a good place to be. So, great question. Sorry I rambled.
LinkedIn requests you to put in your coursework, so that it asks for every college course you've ever taken. Mm-hmm. How much of that is actually necessary? I mean, is that a selling point to have lists so people start using college?
Coursework on LinkedIn. How many of you seen the endless list? I would put in whatever you think is pertinent for the direction you want to go. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. But if it's a unique class that is only offered here at the university, I'd put it in there. But think about who your crowd is, who you want to appeal to, and use your judgment. There's no obligation there. I don't have any of my coursework in there. I saw that, and they aren't even going to know what that is. That was so long ago. Other questions?
Some suggestions or recommendations on keywords to use in your linked profile, keywords that are overused, that people shouldn't use, and I'm assuming you want more active type. It's better to have an active voice than a passive voice in the profile.
True.
That selecting where they have the different skills that you can select to describe yourself. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that?
Great question. What kind of words should you have on your profile? So, flowery words like fabulous and incredible, they mean nothing. Okay, and the term multitasking, do not use it on your profile. Everybody multitasks. That's just life. What you want to do is you want to be specific to your industry. So if I was in human resources, for instance, I know that they don't say human resources anymore. They say human capital management, which I'm like, really? Okay. So I would make sure I put that all over my profile. Know what is trendy in the tech field. And if you know a specific programming language, I would make sure that's in there at least 3 or 4 times, because they are looking for very specific .NET, Ruby on Rails, JavaScript, some other things. They're looking for real specifics. And if you know these languages, make sure those appear at least 3 or 4 times, because they are searching for them. And you'll be able to see in LinkedIn how many times you show up in searches. Be succinct. They don't care how fabulous you think you are. Just be I program in Ruby on Rails, dynamic, forward-thinking. Talk about what you've really done. For me, it's about customer service, creating customer satisfaction, loyalty programs, things I know and are appealing now. Some of the stuff I did 15 years ago, looking at phone systems. Now, everything's voice over IP now. They could care less what I did in the call center when it came to turning on those phones. That's like Flintstones days. So that I don't put on my profile, because that's also not a good branding thing. So know what's kind of trending, and you can do some Google searches and read a couple of articles. Forbes is usually pretty good at saying, this is in, this is hot, this is not. And I would definitely do a little bit of research before I made some edits. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
One more question.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about the difference between recommendations and endorsement on LinkedIn?
I can. So there are recommendations and there are endorsements. Endorsements came after April was at LinkedIn. And I have to be honest, they're supposed to replace recommendations. And endorsements are one specific thing: leadership, management, guidance. There are these really vague terms, and people can endorse you. Strategic thinking. And if they endorse you, that's not a bad thing, but it's kind of, to me, it reminds me of like Candy Crush. It's just like, okay, this is like a game. How many people can I get to say I'm a good leader? Whereas your recommendations are narratives that people actually write about you. To me, they're much more meaty. I see those endorsements and I kind of laugh because I think it's a miss. I know what they were thinking there, but I don't think they're achieving what they want to, and I would venture to guess that they are going to change that. If you haven't been in LinkedIn since yesterday, they did make a change on the platform. It looks really different when you log into your page now. They've rearranged things, trying to figure out if they've taken anything away. Haven't spotted that yet, but I would definitely take a look at it. It's cleaner. There's more white space. So, great question. So, anything else? You guys have been a great audience. Thank you so much for having me. And Ann has my email address. I'm happy to help you out if I can. It's gratitudeatwork@gmail.com. It's my book title. If you've got a question, if you want me to read your LinkedIn profile and give you ideas, is this good, is this bad, what do you think? If I can help you in your next endeavor, I would be happy to do so. So thank you.
Very inspirational and helpful and enlightening for all of you that are looking for your next career and getting ready to go forward. So we have we wanted to give away a couple books that April has written. I know a couple of you came in late. Does anybody want to put their name in the drawing at the last minute? Anybody? Y'all got in there? Okay. All right. I guess you get the honor. Yay! So we'll do the first one for the gratitude.
Who brought their wallet? No, just kidding. All right, gratitude at work goes to, is it, help me with this. Yeah.
Johnny Shockley.
Johnny. Yay! What a great name. I love that. Were you named after somebody? That's awesome.
Johnette.
Yeah. Yep. Congratulations.
Wonderful.
Okay, spaghetti. Who likes Italian? Everybody says. Brenda Painter.
Well, thank you all for coming. We're glad that you got the notice, and I know that we have some business partners here, and we're just glad to have a nice mix of students and executives. So thank you for coming. Have a great day. Thank you.